Hey there, folks. It's Jamie from runningrestaurants.com. Are you looking to grow your restaurant in 2023? Are you and your team focused on driving more revenue or connecting your diners more? Maybe increase sales without physically expanding your brick and mortar? Then you're looking for Pop Menu. Pop Menu is restaurant technology designed to make growing your restaurant easy. Attract more guests to your website that's designed to easily collect their contact info and data so you can see what your guests love and why they dine with you. Stay top of mind and build authentic relationships with guests by using modern technology that drives new and repeat business. Make all your systems work better together, improve margins, and conquer the chaos of your restaurant's digital presence. Pop Menu is technology for restaurants that are ready to grow. For a limited time, my listeners can get $100 off your first month plus lock in unchanging monthly rate at popmenu.com/running. So go now to get $100 off your first month and learn more about Pop Menu's entire collection of tools at popmenu.com/running. That's popmenu.com/running. All right, folks, welcome to the runningrestaurants.com podcast, where we bring you the tips, tools, and techniques you need to know to make your restaurant more profitable and successful. I'm your host, Jamie Oikel, and today we've got a great episode for you with Rish Gupta, co-founder and head of product at Spot AI. Welcome, Rish. How are you, man?
Good, Jamie. Thanks for having me. Super excited to talk about
it. This is tech stuff, right? We don't get to do. I love talking about the tech, and we just met briefly before, and we were talking about a few things. But let's get into just the introduction of what you guys do, and then I'll dig in from there.
Yeah, what we do is at Spot AI, we provide a video intelligence platform for businesses to have safer, secure, better operations. Now, what that translates into in a very simple way is if you have security cameras or cameras in general on your restaurants, our system can connect with any and all cameras. And then we have a lot of AI built in, so you can get reports on the number of people, the heat maps, is somebody present behind the counter, and a bunch of such examples, including incident resolutions. If you have something happened, you want to record that video, use it for collaboration or right on top of those videos. So we basically make anything to do with, we make your cameras basically supercharged and work for you.
Okay. Yeah, I think one of the things I saw on your site, which kind of grabbed my attention, was like cameras are dumb, right? I mean, they've used to be, but now they're so smart, and you can use them in restaurants along with a lot of other folks aren't using them to their full potential. And I'm assuming that's kind of where you guys plugged in and said, listen, this stuff's not being used. The data's out there. Let's find a way for the computers to get into it. What was the derivation? Where did you guys get the origination from?
Yeah, so we were talking to customers, and we were thinking, so what's happening in the technology world is the cost of cameras is getting cheaper and cheaper because every mobile phone has a camera. So in the economies of scale, people have figured out how to do it cheaply, and people have figured out how to do it at scale. And so and the chips which go in to make these cameras smarter are also getting cheaper and smarter and better every year. So we looked at that, and we're trying to build new cameras. But when we spoke to our customers, most of the customers said they already had security cameras. And unfortunately, these security cameras are built by hardware companies with relatively poor software. So we said, okay, we don't need to really sell the lenses. We don't need to sell the cameras. If we can just power a software, the video files are coming. Can we make those video files more useful? Can we make them more impactful? And that's exactly what we went and pitched to our first few customers. And I think we were discussing, one of them was a restaurant chain based in California and Nevada, and they were like, yes, this makes sense. We have 20, I think they had 14 or 15 locations then. They have 20 locations now. And they started with 1 or 2, and then I think we're now across all the locations.
Yeah, I could see it for restaurants. Exactly. What are some of the biggest uses? The first thing that comes to mind, obviously, you see camera in the sky, Big Brother, monitoring theft. Is that one of the bigger ones? Incident stuff? What else?
So the biggest thing, at least, so we work best when there's a multiple restaurant chain. So the owner operator has to kind of manage either multiple franchisees or multiple restaurants. And so it gives them a single pane of glass to look at all the cameras. You don't have to switch between different video recorders. You just get, you can mix and match cameras from different locations and have a view on your cell phone or on your desktop and see what's happening behind the counter. If you want to know it's 1 p.m., how's the lunchtime traffic doing at an X restaurant, you can just pull it up. So for owner operators, just the visibility across multiple locations without having to make phone calls, without having to, wait for some report to come at the end of the day, getting the visual full sense of what's happening in the restaurant is incredibly important. And then every once in a while there is an incident which happens, whether it's to do with a customer complaint or whether it's to do with something, an employee complaint, and you can actually then get to the truth. If the customer is saying, oh, the server was rude to me, or the person behind the counter did not take, got the order wrong, and that led to a fight or a altercation.
Sure.
They can actually pull the video up. They have, they're able to investigate for themselves what actually happened. And very often they might realize the person, their staff is not in wrong, or it's a training moment for their staff. And they're actually able to, and rather than just being Big Brother, one thing that we promote is adding all your people onto this platform. So even your employees and your staff can see which all cameras are there, what's, they can see what's happening behind the counter. And it can lead to very interesting results. One of the early stories I remember, which was really interesting, was they were seeing that the ingredient consumption at two of their restaurants in the chain was much higher than the rest. And they didn't realize why it's happening. And then through the videos, they were able to see that in certain sandwiches, some of their staff was using exactly
and loading it up.
Exactly. And they're like, oh, this is why our cost at these two locations are better. And then they're like, okay, if we do a training for these few employees, and then they can figure out by watching videos which ones are doing it. They're like, okay, we just need to train them, saying, hey, these are the things you're doing wrong. And they're actually able to bring it down.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've all been, whether it's a sub shop or another place, and there's the person who's does the scoop and levels it off and puts it on, and then there's the one that does the scoop and heaps it on and does 3 of those instead of 2, and so you can definitely see that is a training moment for sure. So all right, so I'm seeing some interesting use cases. And a couple of questions already came into my head. I want to go back to that heat map for a second. And the idea of just seeing customers in your location. That is a very useful thing. People always want to know the head count. What about, you use the phrase heat map. What do you mean there? So
there are 2 things we do with respect to heat maps. One, even without doing any AI setup on your camera, you don't have to set up anything. You don't have to toggle anything on. We give a people count through the day. So you can, on any camera, so if your camera is located, looking at the main floor, you can look at, at 1 p.m. there were 27 people. At 2 p.m. there were 25 people. So we give you a people count across the time of the day for the last 7 days without you having to set up anything. And then if you wanted to take it a step further and say, where were these 27 people? Were they, are people preferring to sit in certain spots of the restaurant? Are certain tables always empty? How much traffic are you getting in certain sections? Is, sometimes you will have multiple, food stations until the way where your sauces, ketchups are and stuff like that. And one of them is utilized a lot more than the other. Like 90% of the people use this one, 5% because of the way it's situated across the restaurant. And so you're able to see these patterns. You're able to see where the human traffic is moving. So not just the count, you get a sense of how the traffic is moving within your restaurant. And are there certain sections of your restaurant which are highly underutilized?
Yeah, you might be surprised with some of those findings. What about the coverage? You talked about it already. I mean, people should know where their cameras are, right? Where they're pointing. And sometimes in a system, people will know where the so-called blind spots are. But how important is it to, in essence, cover what percentage of coverage of ground do you need? Do you want? What do you think?
So I think what we at least tell our customers is there is a service area, and then there is the staff can have a private office or stuff like that. Now, it's the service area where the customers are, where the food is getting prepared. Those are areas where you need monitoring because that's the heart of your business, and that's what you're trying to improve. That's what you're trying to get information on. Now, if the employees have a private room in the back where they can go and take a break, chill, put their stuff, maybe that's not where you need cameras because it doesn't add to your operations, and you want people to be able to be in a room without having a camera in the room.
Relax,
So that's typical advice, and obviously different owners have different preferences and so forth.
Okay. One of the notes that we can come back to is you mentioned it before. Accidents happen, slip, fall, so forth. What's the process? It's probably pretty easy. Now you can identify in the AI the day part. You can go back. You can share the files. What does that look like?
Yeah, the typically when an accident happens, and this was surprising to us when we got into the industry, people are using traditional video recorders. So there is basically a video recorder on site, which is recording from all the cameras. And you have a fast forward rewind button. And if you have to download something from this site to be able to send to, let's say, a legal department, or you want to send it to a few employees to discuss a safety procedure, or something which a better practice, you need to literally take a USB thumb drive, take that video out, download it on Dropbox, create a Dropbox link, and then send it on an email, and then chat through it, and you write top. What you can do on our platform is you single click, add it to a case.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can add all your employees who are relevant to this case to that case by just adding them, because they're in the system, just by adding their name. And then as the video is playing, you can literally write on top of the video saying, oh, at 2 minutes, 30 seconds, you see this person overloading this sandwich. You're like, oh, hey, and let's say the manager's name is Mark and this person is Joe. It's like, hey, Mark, seems like Joe needs some help with what the right quantity of ingredients needs to go on sandwiches. Can you help him train on that? And then let's review this again next week. And then when Mark and Joe come into this video, they know exactly which point of the video you're talking about. They don't, and automatically when Mark and Joe are tagged to this comment, just like you would do it on Slack or Microsoft Teams, they're sent a notification saying, hey, your owner XYZ tagged you on this comment. And then you just click on that link in your email or your text, and then you're straight away onto the video. You're seeing that comment, you know exactly what they're talking about, you can resolve it. So no longer you have to that kind of, and you can take multiple angles and stitch them together for these purposes. So you're like, oh, here's the angle from the front, and here's the angle from the back, and like, this is what's happening. Or there was a customer altercation. Let's look at multiple angles. What was the customer doing prior to this? So you can stitch the whole narrative into one place and collaborate very seamlessly.
Yeah, I like that opportunity to, obviously, the collaboration part and making it easy. When you met audio, is there any audio that's captured in?
We, audio is something which is sensitive. So there are states, I think, which do not allow audio capture.
Yeah.
And there are states which do. So we provide audio capture. But we by default have it as off.
Okay.
As an owner, we basically allow you to turn it on, and we give a warning saying, hey, these are the states which you should not be turning it on. It's not legal. And if your camera is in other states, it's up to you, and then, to turn it on, because then you're capturing conversations which may not be, which might be private, like two customers talking in a restaurant about something.
Yeah. I was thinking of that altercation part. You want to capture that, but you don't want to capture the lovebirds having their nice dinner on the side. You're not interested in that. But it's a delicate balance as there's Alexa devices near me and everything else.
Yeah. It's always and there's definitely privacy concerns, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to tread the water carefully on where all do you want to take the technology, and so we are very concerned about which aspects would lead to privacy invasions, and then having clear warnings built into it, or certain features not at all built into the product, because those are places which really can get businesses into trouble or just ethically kind of crosses the line.
What I do want to go back to theft for a second. And has it been useful in any use cases where it's identified an incident and led to
So we had a couple of different stories that we've heard from our customers, and obviously every story does not make it back to us, but a couple of different stories. One is one of the restaurant owners actually deployed this. Deploy the technology prior to even the restaurant being opened. So while the restaurant was in the build phase, and they realized that there was some material theft that was happening between what the contractor was saying and what was actually happening on ground, and they were able to spot that. And now they use the cameras. Every time they open a new location, before construction begins, they want the cameras, because there's a lot of temporary workers coming in and out, and they're slowly bringing in more and more supplies and more goods. The second example was, they used to have these expensive wines in the wine shelf.
Sure. Yeah.
And one of their staff members was basically taking some of that off without accounting for it, and they were able to find that and take care of that. So there's
especially in the restaurant industry. It's not, no secrets that I'm revealing right now. It's an issue that happens in the restaurant business. And if you don't, what doesn't get managed and doesn't get watched and paid attention to, people will have a tendency over time to take advantage of. So, but that fact of knowing that there's a a watchful eye should in and of itself help detract from some of that systematically. No, the other thing that came to my mind is, I'm sure since it's AI, since it's tech, and a lot of times with tech, we use 5% of what it can do. What are some of the other filters? What are some of the other things that you can do?
Yeah, and there's obviously more and more we're launching. The one of the other things that our restaurant owners have found useful is very often they have a host who will greet you at the beginning, at the entrance of the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have, if you're a quick service restaurant, you have the people behind the counter who are making your sandwiches, right? Or making your burgers, or whatever the case might be. And sometimes the person is not present behind the counter because they have taken a phone call, or they have gone away, and they're just not present, and lineups happen because So we actually allow for people presence counting. So you can draw a box behind this, let's say, host stand, and say, okay, between 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., which is my busy hours, I want this person to be standing here, let's say 90% of the time or 95% of the time. Mm-hmm. And then you can actually see variations in a few multiple stores, saying, oh, this store the person is behind in the dinner time around 80% of the time, and this is 90% of the time. And does that lead to lesser wait times and high revenues and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. Same thing behind the counter. So you get this, you can draw zones and get whether your staff is present in those zones to serve the customers or not. And you can get that data across multiple stores, and you can compare them with bars and graphs and charts within a product. And then you can see, does that correlate to your revenue numbers, or to customer happiness numbers, or reviews of different restaurants? Like, does that does these things of your person being present and helpful? So that's one. We're also building on this is something which is coming out next week. I'm excited about it, and it may not be relevant to all restaurants, but I think it might be for a lot of restaurants. Is with license plate recognition, what you can actually do is start to understand who are your repeat users.
Okay.
If you and with that, you can start building and understanding who your loyal customers are, and eventually you can set up a system where you get an alert or a notification when this person has come 5 times to your restaurant in the last, or drive-through, or a quick service restaurant, or normal regular restaurant. And then you can be like, oh, if this person has come 5 times, let me gain their loyalty, let me offer them something, or let me treat them a little better because they already like our food. There's a way I can keep and retain their business. So there's things like those that we're thinking through, like how do we give you that data?
Question on the the license plate. I thought initially I'm thinking drive-through, but you could also use that for general parking lot if it's a sit down.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sometimes we've talked about it, in other shows, and obviously on the website over the years. Knowing who your customer are, and people they oftentimes believe they know more about their customers than they actually do, and so the data is always kind of revelatory, or I didn't say that right, but you know where I'm going. But question, if I don't know if there's more filter stuff you have, but I did have a follow up on. Have you used the tech yet to watch me as a customer? Like, I'm trying to check out, or I'm looking for another glass of water, and I'm doing the where's my person thing? Is there a way to identify that and flag it somehow to the staff, the manager?
It's an interesting one. The moment you get into these kind of technology, look at the person moving to the left and to the right, and the problem is each restaurant is kind of built slightly differently and with different lighting and stuff. And this is where AI starts to get a little fuzzy with false positives and false negatives. So you can find AI demos online, which is like, oh yeah, we can do it. And then if you talk to most people who have experienced the product, they'll be like, yeah, it's a hit and miss. It is going to get it and then once it's a hit and miss above a certain threshold, people start believing the data. So we like to go for things which we have a 90% plus certainty or 95% plus certainty of getting it right. If the confidence intervals are lower than that, then we know that it's a matter of technology catching up. It's a matter of when and not if, but you have to intersect it at the right time to make it happen. But kind of going beyond filters and going back to what we started with, what do owners find useful? The one thing that keeps surprising with all this tech and where AI can go is the way the traditional video recorders were built. They were built as silos. So if you talk to somebody who owns 10 restaurants, they will tell you that to access my 10 video recorders, I probably have 10 different IP addresses or 10 different websites sometimes to go to.
Right.
And even if they are on the same platform, even if we planned it in such a way that they're all on the same, camera system, they have to go between locations. So I have to go from our Arkansas location, let's say, to the location in Ohio or something, right? But with the fact that Spot allows all the cameras on one platform, and visual is still one of the most powerful. Meaning, like if you close your eyes, it's said that about 85% of all the data that we consume as human beings comes from our eyes. And so if you close your eyes, you're consuming that much less. So when we show people the videos of their sites and they can just pull up their phone and see the floors across their 6 restaurants, that itself gives them so many insight. They're like, oh, I didn't even know this was happening. Oh, look at this table in the back. Like,
Sure.
oh, that's not how I want my customers to feel. Like, that person is being served water from, like, there are these little things which as owners you care about the experiences, which you see, and then you're able to, you just have these aha moments, which if you ask any restaurant owner that when you're actually on site, like, do you get to see more about what's happening in the operations? Do you have 5 suggestions? And obviously when they go on site, things are a little more prepped up to because the owner is coming.
Of course.
So this way you have a lot more candid view of what's happening across the restaurant, and they continue to find that powerful. Like most restaurant owners who use us will have a video wall built on their phone or on a monitor in their office, which is capturing these floor videos from their restaurant chains.
Good. Yeah. I really do find a lot of power in those little details that you could bring to a next meeting. Hey, we noticed this. And if we did that, it could lead to this. And if you keep adding those over the course of time, it can really be impactful. So as we start to close, I want to ask you any limitations on geography. If I was a restaurant on the East Coast, West Coast, North, South, they contact you. Yeah.
We have restaurants across the country using us. So no limitation on geography. No limitations on camera systems. So you don't have to buy our cameras or install our cameras. We actually give cameras away for free. But also, if you have any existing camera brand, we will work with them. So that's another thing that restaurant owners like, because when they build separate restaurants, they chose a local security vendor and they went with whatever cameras they recommended. And very often that means across the chain, they have 3 or 4 different systems. And the cost of buying the same system means replacing cameras across, and that's expensive and time consuming and operationally heavy. So the fact that we don't need to change anything, we work with all camera brands. You just deploy a box on the side and it just then works on your phone and your desktop, and everything else is super helpful.
Perfect. I was going to send them out to the website. If you anywhere else to send them, it literally it's literally Spot AI, correct?
Yeah, spotai.co.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, folks, go to Spot AI, check them out. That was Rish Gupta, co-founder and head of product there at Spot AI. Good stuff. I always love learning about this tech. It's amazing where it's going. We got to check in with you in a year from now, or 6 months. It's probably so fast. And I know you guys are growing and got funding and doing all sorts of fun stuff. So, really good stuff. Appreciate you there. Again, you can go to Spot AI to find out more. For more great restaurant marketing and service and people and tech tips. Stay tuned to us here at runningrestaurants.com. We'll see you next time. Thanks much.
Thanks, Jamie.